less than 2 points decided between first and second place in last week's matchup. Let's get into it. This is King of FanDuel. I am I break cards, and enjoy the terrible intro music. Do, 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 do. Who's the king of FanDuel? That's right, like I said, less than 2 points decide the winner in second place, third place, and fourth place. Unfortunately, they don't get anything, so I guess the losers. And it was literally between the tight ends. I had Tyler Eifert. They had Noah Fant. In case you couldn't guess, I won. I had 168 points. Second place had 166. Third place had 162. And fourth had 139. We'll round that up to 140 just to be nice. I had a really good week, to be honest. I did possibly end up changing my lineup a little bit more than I had said. I had Deshaun Watson, which I thought he would go off against Atlanta, with Atlanta just not playing bad, and it's a home game for Houston. He got 41, almost 42 points, 5 passing touchdowns, over 400 yards passing. I had McCaffrey in because he's just what that team is right now. 176 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 61 yards receiving, 1 catching touchdown. Just great game for him. After that game, I think they said he was questionable for this week due to just body fatigue. He'll, of course, play this weekend. I had in Mixon. I thought Mixon would do more. He didn't break 100 yards, but he did get 93 with 16 reception yards. Julio Jones against Houston only got 3 receptions, but I did have in Michael Thomas, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. Very happy with that. I had in Marquise Brown. He got me about 10 points with a touchdown. I think he later in that game got a concussion, so he kind of got bumped out a little early. Like I said, I had an Eifert who had 2 receptions for 14 yards. And then Larry Fitz, who didn't have a bad game, 58 yards, so not too terrible. And then I had the Oakland Raiders defense against Chicago. I was reminded by a good friend of mine that the starting quarterback right now for Chicago was Tyler Bray. And that didn't click in my mind until they actually told me that. I was like, of course, I have to put in that defense. So that's what won me last week, roughly 170 points. I don't recall if it's one of our highest scores we've gotten this season, but I do know it's one of my highest scores I've gotten this season. I used that lineup also to win some other ones as we do our league. It's a $1 entry. FanDuel takes its cut, so winner only gets $3.60. It's just kind of like a fun thing we do for the series. My 4 p.m. only, I won $6. My 1 p.m. only, I won $2. My another 1 p.m. only, I won $3. And then I did my highest ever, you guys might have seen me post this to Twitter, I did my highest ever beat the score with this same lineup. I felt very confident in the big names I was able to get from it with Watson, McCaffrey, Jones, Thomas. I felt very good about this lineup. And so I entered it, and it was a $7 lineup. When I was winning at the beginning of the day, I was winning hundreds of dollars. And as the 4 o'clock games ended, I only won $6.50. So I was in the negative by about 50 cents. Speaking of overall, right now we are, I believe, at $35 on the account, not including our upcoming contest for this week's games. The Patriots play the Giants, and the Giants are like 17.5-point underdogs. They won't win this game. That's the most sure I can be that anything's going to happen in the history of ever. And, I mean, that Giants team is just beaten up. They're on to their 3rd string running back. Their starting tight end's not playing. A couple of their wide receivers. Dorsett's not going to play for the Patriots, so I'm going to go ahead and take him out. And it looks like the winds are going to be up to like 20, maybe 30 miles an hour tomorrow. And the chance of rain is in the high 80s in Foxborough. So that might be a run-heavy game. And it looks like, who was it? Rex Burkhead, I think, may not even play. So running backs will be huge in that for me. But I'm going to kind of mess with that a little bit later. I'm going to get into this week's lineup that I have upcoming. And this is, again, something that could be changed. And I don't just do this as a strategy in case the guys who I'm in the contest with watch. I don't mind that they watch. I appreciate the support. I like to see the views, the comments, and everything else. But this is what I've got right now. So I've got Deshaun Watson against my Chiefs at Kansas City. Yeah, so we lost our first game last week, and we lost it to a team that I didn't think was that great, but I didn't think they should be underestimated in the Colts. They proved me wrong. I saw a lot of just terrible play from my team, and I just wasn't impressed. I thought it was the worst game I had seen in a long time, which is what I said about the Lions game, but this one was far worse. So Deshaun Watson, I think he'll have a good game. Obviously, we need to cover, their two main wide receivers. I've seen some people say, put in Carlos Hyde, put in Carlos Hyde. I think they split carries between Carlos Hyde and somebody else. We had Hyde. I was happy to have Hyde in the preseason. Even happier now to have LaShawn McCoy. Next up, I have David Johnson as a running back against Atlanta. That's a home game, so that'll help a little. It's honestly quite an even matchup with how badly Atlanta is just not doing this season. I mean, that's just the only way I can put it. They're both not doing well. Mark Ingram at home against Cincinnati. Honestly, Cincinnati's defense can't stop anything, as we've basically seen. I think they've won one game. Next, I wanted to put in a player into a possible high-scoring affair, which is the 49ers, undefeated 49ers, against the Rams. We saw the 49ers just dismantle the Browns on Monday Night Football. I would have not guessed that was happening. I would have not guessed Breida would have had 2 touchdowns when they rotate 3 or 4 running backs, 5 or 6 receivers, so I refused to put in practically any of their players other than Garoppolo, and that's unfortunately what I got. When one player dominates, it's hard to win on a solo 5-player thing. So I'm putting in Kupp this week. He averages 19 points. He's getting a lot of the targets. I mean, 17 targets, 15 targets, 12 targets, 9 targets, 10 targets, and those are some good numbers. He's averaging, it looks like, roughly 1 touchdown a game, so I like what I see from him. Next is Gallup for the Dallas Cowboys against the Jets. Jets are kind of the same way. I could switch out Gallup, or I could just keep him in because Darnold has been cleared off of his mono or whatever he had that was keeping him out. And so that could help them play better. But we saw Gallup. I mean, Gallup's getting 7, 8, and 14 targets. He had a really good week against Green Bay where I think Green Bay lost that game, if I remember correctly. Over 100 yards. Boyd is another player I have in against Baltimore. He's a questionable. I might take that out. Austin Hooper, a player against Arizona. Tight end. He's getting a lot of targets. Another reason I have him in there. 9, 6, 7, 11, and 9. Averaging about 13.5 points a game. I can't deny that. Le'Veon Bell, they are at home. They are against Dallas, which doesn't help. But again, Darnold coming back could help Bell catch out of the backfield. Right now, he's not doing well other than maybe week 1 and week 2 where he got 20 and 16 points. Otherwise, he's gotten 8.5 and 12.5. So, again, he might be switched out too later on the week. And then I have Arizona's defense against Atlanta just because Matt Ryan's thrown so many picks. I do have $200 left over in my budget, so I could change that if I truly wanted to, but right now we're going to keep that at that. And then, of course, I also have my weekly pick'em thing that is free. I've gotten all of my guesses right so far, and I honestly couldn't remember to tell you who I picked this week. I could put it up here, or I could just tell you next week. There's also a new mode I'm thinking of trying. It's called the 3-Man Challenge. 3 any flex position MVP score multiplies by 1.5. So there are head-to-heads, 50-50s, multipliers, tournaments, and there's a featured one that I believe was $3. Of course, the better your players are, the more they're going to cost you. You get $7 overall. And for an example of how much a player costs, this is just an example. Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Russell Wilson, Michael Thomas, Cooper, Prescott, Elliott, Cook, Watson, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, etc. Those kind of guys are $4. Then you get down to the $3 guys like Kelsey, Bridgewater, Goff, Thielen, Mayfield, Kamara. You get down into those guys. And then $2 are Tyler Lockett, Le'Veon Bell, Carlos Hyde, Melvin Gordon, Zach Ertz. $1 guys are your guys that just generally aren't used that well or aren't used at all or probably don't get a lot of points. Those are the guys I'm going to have to dig through in order to find a good guy. So I'll probably do like a 3-2-2 or a 4-2-1 or something like that, depending on if I can find decent players. So that's it for me this week, guys. Hopefully the luck continues. I haven't really put together a lot of lineups for this weekend, as it is only Wednesday. This video comes out Friday. So hopefully my lineups for tomorrow's game went well. And if not, we'll just have to do what we did last weekend and make some money back for our losses. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully your team does great this weekend. Hopefully my team can pick it up and get back to where they used to be and how well they played. If I'm being an honest fan, with the injuries we have and the new players we're forced to bring in at defensive tackle, offensive lineman, I don't even know if Tyreek is coming back. Sammy could still be hurt. We don't know at this moment. It's not game day. Nothing's been announced. It's not looking good. So that's kind of why I'm betting against my team a little bit. It's just, I think at this point, the smarter thing to do. But that is it, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to y'all later.